Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Healing Doesn't Have to Be Heavy podcast. I'm your host, Angie Berrett, and I am a trauma informed coach. I'm a play expert, I'm a registered nurse, and I'm also a child abuse survivor. As I was on my journey healing from child abuse, I just felt the weight and the oppression of navigating healing from trauma and from life. And it was so heavy, and I felt so alone and so isolated. And it wasn't until I discovered the power of play and of movement that I was able to release some of the weight of healing on my journey, find joy, bring peace back into my life, and let go of things that were holding me back. And now I get to help women use movement and play to connect to their own bodies, releasing limiting self beliefs, stress, anxiety, tension, depression, and trauma, bringing more fun, more joy, and more peace into their lives. And this podcast is a way to help those of you on your journey find slivers of hope, nuggets of information, and maybe something that for you will help you find some lightness on your journey navigating through life, because there's always ups and downs and there's always heaviness. And today's guest is no exception. I can't wait for y'all to meet her. But before we jump into that, and before I introduce her, I just want to give a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about things like mental health, stressors, burnout. So if you find that you're getting triggered, definitely please step back, do something to ground down, come back to yourself, find a way to reconnect with who you are, where you are, and timing right now. And then I really invite you to come back, because our guest today has some incredible resources, insight, and some stuff that maybe just might be the thing that will help you find some lightness and hope on your journey. So I invite you to come back when you're ready and stick around till the end, because she has a special gift for you. And so do I. And so stick around till the end to hear what amazing goodie she has for you. So with that, let me introduce you to today's guest, Traci Psihas. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Angie. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you be here with us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I am, first and foremost, a very proud mother of 7-year-old twin girls. They
Oh,
are my life. I did have them late in life, and I have learned that that was probably the best option for me because of a lot of things that happened in my personal life leading up to that. Just like you, I am also a child abuse survivor. I have been through several unfortunate domestic violence incidents, and I have been on a journey, continuing to be on a journey
yes.
because it's a lifelong
Never
commitment,
ending.
this thing called life, right?
Yes.
Of figuring out how I can make better choices for myself and putting my life and my children's life in a much more positive environment, a more psychologically safe environment. And the way that I've been doing that is honestly just looking inside myself, asking myself the hard questions. I've been in therapy. I have had my own life coach. And through talking with them and looking internally to see not what's wrong with me,
Hmm.
but what do I need to change to attract positivity into my life? If I want to be safe and surround myself with good people, how can I do that? And through that healing that I've done to learn to accept myself, feel comfortable in my skin, regardless of my appearance, I have found a passion for wanting to help other women do the same thing. And as any mom will tell you, once you become a mom, your life is flipped upside down or reversed to whatever you thought it was going to be. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to stay home, raise your children's, bless you. I envy you. I wish sometimes I could do that. But for the majority of women, we have to work.
Yeah.
And with being a mother and having to work brings a whole nother set of stressors and commitments and time suckers that take away from taking care of yourself.
Hmm.
Then I decided I like to help women. How can I do this? How about I just open my own business and help them that way so I can have a much larger impact on women and women's health.
Wow. What so much. I love it. I incredible. How did you I want to jump into how you help women and mothers, but I want to ask what was the catalyst for you that made you realize that you needed to do something different, to start looking internally? What was the catalyst for you to start to break out of that abusive cycle? Because for many of us, once we're in that abusive cycle, it takes some sort of catalyst to get us to start to look that internal um that, to start to focus inward because it's more uncomfortable to live the way we are than to look start on that journey because starting that journey is uncomfortable.
It is. It is. And this might sound backwards or wrong, even, but I started with what were my previous partners complaining about?
Oh,
You know, even though we had so many issues, they don't just make stuff up. They're human. They have
yep.
their own needs and desires that were not being met in the marriage. So I started there. What
Mhm.
did they complain about? What did they not like in me? And some of those, it's like, okay, that's a personal preference. That's not me. But
Yeah.
other things, I had to be honest with myself, which is really hard sometimes. This is a very simple example, but I feel like it demonstrates the point perfectly because everybody can relate to not wanting to clean their home,
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes. Yes.
It's the last thing you want to do after working all day, taking care of your kids, getting them fed, putting them to bed. It's 9 o'clock at night, and you just want to go to sleep. I am a clean person. I'm an organized person, but it's not something I really like to do. So I would always procrastinate and put it off. And this was a problem for my partners.
Mm,
And that is a valid point, a valid concern for them to have because they also want to live in a clean home. I
yeah.
like to live in a clean home, but it was never something that came natural to me. My love language is not acts of service. It was the last one on my acts of service list or the love language list, excuse me. So I started thinking, okay, what action steps can I do to keep my home environment clean? What can
Mm,
I do to motivate myself? And I started to just schedule on my calendar, literally putting it on my calendar to take 30 minutes and just Swiffer my floors real quick. Or
huh.
take 15 minutes and just do the 5 dishes that are in the sink or clean up from the rush to morning school in the morning.
Yeah.
So I learned to find these just little pockets of time, and working remotely gives me a little bit of an advantage because I'm working in my home. So I can do that a little bit easier than other people. But even in the evening time, if I'm effectively utilizing my schedule and my time and not just sitting and scrolling mindlessly through social media, news apps, YouTube, whatever, I could be using that towards something productive.
Hmm.
And it's still not natural for me. It is still an effort, but I am making progress towards that. And I feel the sense of accomplishment when I get those things done. And it feels so good to have a clean home. It feels good to have my laundry put away. And I just focused on that feeling and just reminding myself of that feeling. And I applied that with other things that I did not like about myself, small, actionable steps that had a large impact. You may have heard of the 80-20 rule. where
Mhm.
you get 80% of the results with 20% of the effort. So my results that I want, I'm focusing on the positive outputs, the results that I want, and just trying to keep it in the forefront of my mind. Remember how good you felt. Remember that feeling. You had less stress, you had less
Yeah.
anxiety, and no one's going to complain about it because now I live alone with my kids. But in the future, should someone come along, it's not going to be a pain point in my relationship anymore. And that brings me a lot of internal peace, which is the first question I ask myself. Is something bringing me peace? Is it not?
Mm.
If it's not bringing me peace, I either need to figure out how to make it bring peace, or maybe it's just not for me and move forward.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I can 100% relate. Cleaning does not come naturally to me. I don't enjoy it. And yet I love having a clean house. And so
Yeah.
I can 100% relate to what you're saying. And I think a lot of people can,
Yeah.
especially for those of us who are so busy, who have so many competing things pulling at us, family, work, all of that kind of stuff. Cleaning may come second or last, or cooking may come second or last. That was the
Right.
other thing in my mind, that I tend to procrastinate to be the last thing, is cooking healthier foods that make me feel
Yes.
better. Um, so I love that you talk about just short, actionable 5 minutes cleaning the dishes in the sink. I love
Yep.
that. I think that's super powerful, and something that in my mind, I always think, well, I have to do 100% of the house cleaning and I'm so overwhelmed, I'm not going to do it. And instead,
Yes.
taking little nuggets of it makes it less big, less overwhelming, less
Exactly.
daunting.
Exactly.
I love it. Fantastic. So you work with burnout and stress. How did you get into that, and how do you work with women who are facing that burnout and that stress because they have so many competing things pulling at them?
Yeah, absolutely. I, when I had my twins, I went back to work about 3 months after, well, after my maternity leave. And within, I'd say 2, 3 hours of returning, I had chest pain.
Oh.
And I was stressed out every single day. And it wasn't because, oh, I hope my babies are okay. Oh, I need to be home to take care of them. It had nothing to do with them. It had to do with the work that I was doing. And I had not even yet reached the level of work that I had prior to my maternity leave. And I said, something isn't right here. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And I said, I need to be lowering my stress right now. So I fortunately had someone reach out to me with another job offer to another environment that was less stressful. And that worked for a while
Hmm.
until the work again starts to build up. And that's just the nature of that work. It's federal contracting. So it's somewhat predictable, but in a lot of cases, it's very unpredictable from day to day of what's going to happen. And I didn't really necessarily think that was healthy for me, right? The stress is building back up. So again, I had to step back and ask myself some difficult decisions. Do I like what I'm doing? Is this a good company for me? Is this contract the right work for me? All of those questions, I said, yes, I do like my job. I do like this company. I do like this project. Okay, how can I better manage it? And I learned to be a better delegator, for one. I don't have to do everything myself. I have resources. I have coworkers. I need to be leaning on them for support. That's why they're there. We're all working towards the same goal. So I learned to delegate. I also learned to take a lot of smaller breaks throughout the day. I
Mm.
think we get so stuck on, I have to take my lunch break. And some people, that's it.
That's
Some
it.
don't even take the lunch break. They sit at their desk and eat their lunch. If people are working in an hourly job, sometimes they're forced to take those 10 to 15-minute breaks per day. And that's great. However, maybe they're not leaving their work location.
Mhm.
Maybe they're spending those work breaks trying to get caught up on some work that they're actually behind on and not truly having a break from work or technology or anything other than taking a pause to take care of yourself.
Mhm.
So I try to get up and walk away from my desk after every conference call that I have, or at least once an hour. And I walk away from my computer for 2, 3 minutes. I walk around my backyard. I go walk around the block, take my dog to go to the bathroom, whatever, just no longer than 5 minutes. And then I come back. And in that 5 minutes, I'm not looking at my phone and following up on work. I actually take my lunch breaks now. I physically remove myself from technology, eat food, and then come back when I'm done and continuing those breaks throughout the day. Additionally, at the end of the day, I have to give myself at least 10 minutes to decompress. And
Oh,
in that 10 minutes, I take to either meditate, listen to an audiobook, listen to some kind of motivational speech or learning, and not look at anything electronic unless I'm looking to find out from my phone for a podcast or something, right?
right.
It's set aside. My eyes are closed. I am concentrating on whatever it is. If it's meditation, my breathing, or my intentions, or my gratitude. If I'm listening to something, I'm listening intently to that with my eyes closed and giving it my 100% full attention. And I find that when I'm done with that, I feel I'm ready to jump into mom mode and do the cooking and get my kids ready for bed and give them a bath. And I feel less tired after putting them to bed at that, for me, it's 9 o'clock mark.
Mhm.
I feel less tired and able to actually continue to do something and be productive until it's time for me to go to bed later in the evening. So that's what's worked for me to help reverse the burnout that I was feeling as a result of my corporate job and bring myself into a little bit more of a peaceful state of mind to reduce the stress.
I love that. And I love how you talk about it kind of comes back to what we were talking about a little bit before is little nuggets of time or little components of time. This time for you. We talked earlier about things that you want to change, but now taking time for you. So
Yeah.
often I hear, and I even thought myself that if I was going to do something for myself, it had to be like a 2 or 3 hour hike, or I had to go take 45 minutes and go get a pedicure or whatever it was. And yet there are ways that you can do that self-care that are short, are 10 minutes, are something you might not even think about. I love that about listening to an audiobook or a meditation and then just giving yourself that break before you go back and step into momhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Moms are notorious for taking care of other people first and themselves second. But I have to remind people if you're a traveler and have been on an airplane and the flight
Yes.
attendants are explaining to you what to happen in the event of a drop in cabin pressure, you put your own mask on first and then you help other people because you're not going to be of any use to anyone if you're unconscious or worse.
Yeah. And
So
it, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so using that analogy, moms need to put their own mask on first and take care of themselves. And just like you were saying, a lot of them are thinking, I don't have time to take an hour bath. I don't have time to take an hour and a half to get my nails done or get a pedicure or go get a massage. It does not have to be that long. Don't get me wrong. Those are fabulous ways to take care of yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's like the Mercedes of self-care right there. But there's so much more that goes into self-care. Calming your mind is self-care. It's reducing your anxiety, reducing your stress. That's caring for yourself. And a lot of times you can breathe for just 5 minutes. If people have the Apple Watch,
Mhm.
you can put a reminder to breathe. Just I think it goes for 60 or 90 seconds. And it is so beneficial, just that quick break to breathe, to calm your central nervous system down, your sympathetic nervous system down, and help refocus yourself on your day.
I love that you also talk about stepping away from electronics because we are in today's society for I'm not a mom and I can totally relate to well, I'm a dog mom, but I'm not a
Still
human
a
mom,
mom.
still a mom. And I can relate to that that constant kind of almost instant gratification and slash doom scrolling where we're always on social media. And so for me, taking my dog for a walk, leaving my phone behind so nobody can get a hold of me, even if it's just for 10 minutes, allows me that space to come back to myself, connect with the earth, connect with my dog, allow me to give her the attention that I'm not giving her when I'm doom scrolling social media or whatever it is, and then come
Yeah.
back and keep working. So, do something where you set your phone down, put your phone on do not disturb, whatever it is, give yourself a little bit of a break from that because I saw a thing on social media, speaking of doom scrolling, where somebody had done brain scans of people who were um, on social media versus out for a walk or
Oh,
doing
yes.
doing very different activities, and 100% of the time every single scan, when you're on electronics, when you're doing something like that, you're not getting as many of the feel good hormones, your brain isn't as active, whereas you're
Yes.
doing something where you're connecting to yourself, listening to an audiobook, being out in nature, doing something where you're not actually watching your electronics or being on the computer, your brain lights up more activity, more feel good hormones. And so it is replenishing, like Traci's talking
Yes.
about.
Yes, absolutely. The electronic age, I guess, I don't know if that's a real thing, a real term, but that's what I'm calling it anyways. It's consumed our entire life. And I have become much more aware of it now that my kids are school age and they want to spend all of their time on their tablets. After school, I am one of those kids who came on when the street lights came on. I
Yes.
came home when the street lights came on. And if my mom needed me, she would walk outside, call my name, and I would come back. I got my Sunday and Saturday morning cartoons. I got to
Yes.
play Nintendo on the weekends, but otherwise, I was always out doing something. And I'm trying to focus on implementing that consistently with my children as well, to play outdoors, to play with their toys as opposed to their electronics, because you can see when they are playing whatever on their tablet or a phone, they are dialed in
Yes.
and they have tunnel vision to that. The world around them doesn't exist, and that's dangerous on a lot of levels. You're in the
Yes.
home, you're safe, that's fine. If you're out, for example, at the airport, you're getting ready to get on a plane, you're on your phone doing your thing, they're on their tablets doing their thing, not paying attention to your surroundings. Someone can steal your belongings right from out
Yeah.
underneath your feet. And that's not a good precedent to set at a young age. So I am doing it for myself also. And I've noticed a tremendous increase in my ability to focus on things now that I have decreased my own screen time as well as theirs. They're able to focus a lot more and participate in a lot more beneficial activities and being active children instead of being on their tablet, ignoring me and having to ask them 500 times to please turn down the volume or
Yeah.
I'm going to take it away.
I think that's something that many parents can relate to. As an aunt, I can 100% relate to please turn down the volume or I'm going to take that away with my nieces and nephews.
Yes.
So we've talked a lot about burnout. What are symptoms? If someone's thinking, I don't know, am I burned out? What does that really mean? How do you define burnout, and what are symptoms that you recommend that people be aware of to even start to become conscientious that they might be struggling with that?
Yeah. Burnout is very hard to detect at the beginning. It's very slow. It creeps in. Oftentimes, we don't know we're burnt out until we are past that point. It's
Yes.
you're thinking, what is wrong with me? Why am I so tired? Why can I not get motivated to do anything? Why is it that this is such a difficult task for me? If you're thinking those things, your mind is not thinking clearly because it is just done. It does not want to process anymore. And that's what burnout feels like. You're exhausted. You can't focus. You can't seem to pick yourself up off the ground, kick your own butt into gear, just having very similar feelings to depression,
Mhm.
honestly. And I think that they do go hand in hand. I am not a mental health professional, so I don't diagnose depression, but as someone who lives with it every day, I can attest that they definitely go hand in hand. If you don't have depression and you do get burnt out, it can cause you to have depressive feelings, and if you're not used to how having to cope with them and learning how to pull yourself out or having the right tools to pull yourself out of it, it's a challenge. And if you don't address it quickly and in an effective way, it can spiral very quickly. So it's really important that we just learn to first be aware. It's not normal to be exhausted all of the time 24 hours a day. It's Humans are not meant to be like that.
Right.
We are not meant to be machines, and we have feelings. We have needs that exist beyond working, being a parent, just existing in life, that a lot of the times we ignore our basic needs, and self-care is a basic need.
I totally agree with that. And I'm going to say, coming from a trauma informed perspective and a trauma coach, burnout, depression, overwhelm, all of those can be signs of going into freeze. When your nervous system is done, it's shutting down, you're in freeze, you're numbed out, you're
Absolutely.
dissociated. So, like Traci was saying, those are later signs. So, some of the earlier signs, maybe irritability, maybe everything is just,
Everything's overwhelming.
I was going to say pissing you off, but overwhelming
Yeah.
is probably a nicer way to say it. You're finding that you're having some road rage in the car and you don't normally
Yes.
have road rage, or you just don't want to do anything. You just kind of feel like you want to peel your skin off. You're emotionally itchy. Those are some of the earlier signs that you're going into overwhelm, stressed out, burnout, those types of things. So just know it's a normal response of your nervous system, and when you can start to peel those symptoms apart, recognize it. Anxiety. You said that you were having chest pain, panic when you went back to work.
Work.
That can
Yep.
be a sign that something's not quite right. This
Exactly.
feeling of doom, that's one that I hear a lot. I just have this feeling of doom. I can't quite describe it. I just have this oppressive feeling of doom. That can be an
Yes.
early warning sign that you're going into burnout or overwhelm or freeze.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the emotionally itchy comment
Yeah.
that you made. I love that because that that is a very relatable term for so many people.
Yes.
And you were absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head that if something just doesn't feel right, if you're not normally so short with people,
Yes.
if you're normally easygoing, if you're normally go with the flow, a yes person, but all of a sudden everything is just no,
Mhm.
just no. That's not something that a lot of people would think is an early sign of burnout. They would just think, oh, as a female, it's that time of the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that may be, it's valid. It's a real thing, fellas. I promise you, we're not making it up. And the thing I think you need to recognize is if that feeling is going longer than those normal 5 days that you might feel irritable, and it's okay to feel that way. Your feelings are valid, your feelings are real. But what you don't want to do is let those feelings exacerbate.
Yes.
And I think more and more our society is becoming more proactive when it comes to their health, but I still feel like the majority of people are living in reactive mode. They
Yes.
won't do something until something breaks. And we don't treat our cars that way. We get our oil changes every 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 miles. We go to the mechanic, they do a tune up, get new tires. We treat our cars better than we treat our own bodies sometimes. And we should be
Absolutely.
taking care of number one above all else, because what good is having a car that works if you don't work?
I love that. What a great analogy because that's so true. We don't put enough effort back into our health for those tune-ups that and those come into that self-care that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Those moments where we take for ourselves. That's like a tune-up. Going to get that hour and a half long manicure, pedicure, massage, whatever it is that for you is that kind of Mercedes, that to use the analogy
Mhm.
that you did, Mercedes of self-care. That's the same as getting an oil change in your car. And, the
Right.
little tiny things are filling your gas up with car. You have to fill the gas up if you want to continue driving. You can only go so far without putting
Exactly.
gas in.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
That's my favorite expression of all. You have to fill your own cup before you fill somebody else's. You say with the car, your car's not going to take you anywhere until you fill it up.
Yep.
So filling yourself with goodness, peaceful activities, mindful activities, gratitude. All right, if I could just talk about gratitude for just 1 minute, because this is another extremely simple, powerful tool to help your mindset.
Mm.
I had always been a very gracious person. My mom taught me to be polite, please, and thank you. But it wasn't until later in life that I learned about the practice of gratitude
Mm.
and expressing your gratitude towards the little things in life. Not just, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my job, I'm grateful for my kids, my spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It's being thankful for the fact that I have air in my lungs.
Yes.
I'm able to walk. I'm able to provide for my family. Not only am I able to provide for my family, I'm able to provide them with a decent life without fear and danger in a bad area. But once I started to practice appreciating those intangible things in life on a consistent basis, I can't express enough how much peace it started to
Mm.
bring me naturally. And that was something I didn't necessarily know I was missing in my life. But now that I have this practice and have felt the power of expressing gratitude daily, I do
Mhm.
it daily just with myself. I write down every day what I'm grateful for, but every night I do it with my kids at bedtime to get
Ah,
them in the practice of doing the same. And so I see things through their eyes, what they're grateful for. It makes me realize other things that I'm also grateful for because it makes my children happy.
yeah.
And it's just this wonderful cycle that perpetuates itself in a positive way and manifests positive, powerful results that don't take any additional time.
Hmm.
It doesn't take any preparation. All you have to do is think about what you're thankful for. If you can voice it out loud, even better. If you're not in a position to do that, write it down, put it in your phone, anywhere where you can get it out of your mind and out into some other medium and do that consistently. You'll also feel the benefits that you maybe also didn't know you were missing.
I love that. And I will say when I first started practicing gratitude in that term in that way, because same thing, I was raised to say please and thank you, all of that. Um, I felt like when I was on the deepest, darkest part of my healing journey, I felt like I had nothing to be grateful for. And
Mhm.
so it was so hard for me to find things to even be grateful for. I just was miserable. I was unhappy. And so by starting to look for those little things that I was grateful for, or that I could find that I could feel gratitude for, um, I was grateful that it was sunny during the morning
Yes.
instead of being
Mm-hmm.
cloudy. That was something that to me was really good for my mental health. And
Yes.
so finding like actually searching for those things was a learning process for me. And it really started to shift that mindset that everything is not all bad all the time, all dark, all heavy, because it
Right.
was sunny outside this morning, or it was warm, or coffee tasted extra good today, or whatever it was. It was little things that, even though I was in this horrible, painful place, I was in my rock bottom, I still could find things that did bring me a little bit of joy. And so it
Yes.
definitely
Yes.
starts to shift your mentality, because you are looking, and when you have to look for those things that to be grateful for, because they don't just come naturally, it really starts to make you look outside of the despair, or it did me look outside of the despair and the heaviness that I felt.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And that is so profound, what you just said at the end there. It helps you look past the despair.
Yeah.
I think so many people that resonates with them because you do feel helpless a lot of the times. It's a very natural human emotion. You can't control everything.
Yes.
And that's where the helplessness comes in. And you want so badly to control the situation because you just want to be happy. But it is not natural to everybody. It is an effort at first. And you can also maybe think of it as, what's the silver lining here?
Yeah.
Almost any situation you can find some, it might be very thin, but there might be just the slightest silver lining to that gray cloud. And the more you purposely make your mind shift to a more positive thought, the sun's out. I hear birds chirping. I'm able to walk outside today. The more you think of those things that you are able to do, the more
Yes.
your brain starts to think, I like how I'm feeling. Let's look for more. I want to look for more things that make me happy. And it might be gradual. It might take some time. It could be very quickly. Everybody is different. But it might go against your grain, but I promise you, if you take intentional steps to once a day finding something good in your day, it doesn't even have to be something good for you. It
Yeah.
could be, hey, looks like the neighbors had a baby today. That's amazing. I'm happy they had a baby.
Yeah.
You're not trying to find happiness in your life. You're just trying to find things that make you happy. Knowing my neighbor had a baby makes me happy. So practicing that, challenging yourself to do that practice consistently, it makes a world of difference on so many different levels.
100% agree. All right. Now, Traci, this has been a powerful conversation. I love it. I'm going to ask you two questions. What do you feel like has been your biggest challenge as you've been on your journey?
Myself,
Oh, yeah.
I am my own worst enemy, my own worst critic. I have always been self-critical from a very young age. I wouldn't say perfectionist, because I'm not quite that type A, but definitely share a lot of the qualities of type A folks. And so that was really hard for me to get out of my own way.
Mm.
And I did that, like I said at the beginning, truly being honest with myself. You know, you can tell the world whatever story you want about yourself. The most important relationship in the world you have is the one that you have with yourself. And if you are not honest to yourself, who are you honest with?
Yeah.
And that brings a whole other chink in the chain of your uh, feeling of helplessness, worthlessness. You know, you're clouded by dishonesty every day if you're not being honest with yourself. And it is not easy to look in the mirror and say what your shortcomings are. It's very difficult. It's even more difficult to say, okay, I have these shortcomings. Now I'm going to do something
Yes.
about it. I
Yeah.
still get in my own way sometimes. It is not the easiest thing, but I know and I repeat to myself, this is for my own benefit. This only has positive outcomes for me. There is no downside for me to get out of my way to do something positive for myself. In addition to that, if people maybe don't have the problem of getting out of their own way, is sitting down and making a plan for myself.
Mm.
You know, where am I going to find these little pockets of time? You know, if you can do the heavy work at the beginning, say maybe take 1 week every day for an hour of doing those hard questions to yourself, or have a friend who knows you very well, your best friend, your mother, father, your spouse, whoever knows you very well. What do they think would be a good thing to help improve your life? And then that might help you be able to look inside yourself and see what other people see and work from there.
I love that. I think for so many of us, we can relate to that, being our own worst critic and being our own biggest stumbling block and challenge.
Yeah.
So then my next question is, if you and I could sit down and talk in 12 months, where would you want to be that you're not now?
That's a hard question. That's a great question, Angie. I think for my personal life, I would very much just like to be in a more peaceful situation than I am now. I think my situation is peaceful. However, um, there have been some dramatic events coming around my world lately. Hopefully, those will all just be behind me and my family, and we can heal and move forward and be happy. And in my professional life, I am really hoping. So, full disclosure, I have what I call a day job and my non-day job. Have a corporate job and my life coaching business. So I would really like to be able to just focus on my life coaching business. And that is one of my business goals. And that's what I am working towards, of just being able to focus on my business, help as many women as I possibly can to find balance in their life and alignment with their own values.
I love it. That is beautiful. And I think that many of us can relate to that. I still work part-time as a nurse, so I
Yeah.
still have my day job and coaching business on the side. So I can
Yeah.
absolutely relate to that. And I think many of us, especially as we're coming out of our burnout, our trauma, our
Yeah.
life experiences, there is a process and a transition to go from that, I'm going to say corporate world or, professional world into something that brings us that sense of joy or happiness or peace, because it is. We create a life
Yeah.
around what we're taught we're supposed to do. And so to open up
Mhm.
and explore something new can be scary, can be overwhelming. And it's a process to, first of all, feel worthy, get out of our own way, and create that life, that business, that
Absolutely.
love that we want to get up and go to work and enjoy.
Yes, absolutely. You made a comment about how we live our life by how we are told it's supposed to be. And one of the worst expressions I think that exists is, that's how we've always done it.
Yes.
It's like nails on a chalkboard. Just because that's the way you've always done it doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. It doesn't mean there's not a better way.
And it doesn't mean there's even necessarily anything wrong with it. It might just be that it's not the right way for you.
That too.
And we
Absolutely.
And we get to explore that. That's one of the beautiful things of waking up, coming out of this burnout state, this overwhelm, this freeze state, to
Yes.
explore and to discover what it is that really does bring us that joy and that happiness.
Yes.
Traci, now you have an ebook and a free gift for us. Tell us about your ebook.
I do. Thank you. I offer free consultations for all of my prospective clients. However, I recently decided to jump into the book writing world, and I came up with my ebook, From Burnout to Bliss, a stressed mom's secret weapon. And it has very simple and actionable things that are easy to implement in your daily life that you can start using today. You get that book, you can start implementing things today. It is not a long, heavy read. It's going to keep your attention for more than 5 seconds, I guarantee it. And once you're done with even just chapter 1, you can implement something immediately to bring more value and peace to your life.
I love it. And so you're giving that away for people who book a free consultation with you, correct?
That is correct.
Fantastic. We'll drop the link for that in our show notes. So definitely go book a consultation with Traci, grab her ebook, and give yourself those small little actionable steps that you can take to start to bring about the life that you want. Also down in the show notes, I have a free, short, less than 5-minute movement sequence that you can do when you are feeling that emotional itchiness, need something fun, something playful to shift and instantly change your mood. So go grab that as well so that you have it as a tool and a resource for when you really need it. All right, Traci, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably the fastest way to get in touch with me is to either send me an email, Coach Traci at everbloomlifecoaching.com, or you can send a text or call me at 410-216-4456. You can also visit my website or contact me on social media. My website is everbloomlifecoaching.com. Social media, same. You can find me under Everbloom Life Coaching or Traci Psihas.
Fantastic. We'll drop all those links down in the show notes. So everybody go connect with Traci. Go find out, first of all, if you are experiencing burnout and how you can navigate and add those little tiny bits of information that Traci has shared with us, plus more into your daily life to go from burnout to bliss. Traci, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your journey and your wisdom. And this has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angie. I had a great time connecting with you today. I feel kindred spirits here. So thank you so much. I can't wait to hear the final cut.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are watching, we've had some technical difficulties. And even if you're listening and you aren't aware of that, that's a part of life. Learning to roll with the flow is definitely a part of healing and finding humor in the journey. So until next time, everybody, I'm wishing you joy and happiness and a little bit of lightness on your journey. Until next time, bye, everybody.